and welcome to my presentation discussing technology. Is it a tool or is it trouble or toil? Throughout this presentation, we will focus or look at how technology is reshaping our society and how it is affecting the field of education. Let's take a look at where technology has come in the past 20 years or so. If you're looking at this timeline, and we're starting at the right end, and it says in 1990, Microsoft created PowerPoint, and they released PowerPoint, and in the same year, or not too long after there, I graduated from high school and started college at the University of Hawaii. My first experience with the internet, with Microsoft Access, Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, and PowerPoint, was through a computer applications course I took at the University of Hawaii. And that was the first time I had been introduced to PCs. I recall taking a course when I was the age of 8, I believe, on those old Apple 2GSs. It was a coding course. My cousin and I both attended. So that was 1990, 93 is when Mosaic came out. And 94 I graduated from high school and entered the university. In 1997, it says here interactive whiteboards. That's when they were released. When I graduated from high school in 1994, we were still using chalkboards in the classroom. So I only recall one whiteboard in the entire school, and that was in our student government class. Considering that interactive whiteboards were created in 1997, Hawaii schools were very outdated. And then when I entered teaching in the Clark County School District in 2004, I actually didn't get my first whiteboard or smartboard installed in my classroom until I believe it was 2008. And then the last date here we have is Wikipedia. So I recall that attending UNLV to finish up my bachelor's degree in communications. I remember professors, especially my English professors, telling me about Wikipedia, and she cautioned us to use Wikipedia with very sparingly. As we continue on our timeline, in 2003, MySpace was created, and I had just moved to Las Vegas, and a friend was talking about it on campus. I decided to join and got my nieces and nephew, who are both attending or all attending college in Northern California, to join as well. Initially, it was a way for me to keep in touch with my family, and then it kind of turned into social networking. In 2004, we have Facebook. I believe I joined Facebook not at the start, but maybe a year later, around 2005. But I didn't get to start actively using my account until like 2008. In 2010, Instagram was released or introduced to the world, and in 2012, an organization I worked with used Instagram to run a contest for a volleyball tournament that we were hosting. Um, so as you can see, technology has come a long way in the past 20 years. Um, I can't believe that 2007 was the first iPhone or smartphone. That's now 10 years ago. We now live in a knowledge-based informational society where information is the currency. When it is acceptable for an individual's point of view to somehow, through websites and blogs, become an issue. Take, for example, the fake news and personal agenda of those who conspired to create Pizzagate and tarnish the Hillary Clinton campaign of 2016. Scandals like Pizzagate, which was later debunked, are personal websites that push themselves into social issues and then become a public agenda. So, what impact and consequences will information and communication technology have on society? There are three examples of how we may be impacted: online security and privacy. Will our human rights be jeopardized? Um, when is it crossing the line, and when is it beyond the purview of freedom of speech? The next area is trust. How can we weigh the level of convenience in opposition to the risk involved in engaging in online purchases, e-transactions, and even transmitting information? Lastly, social activism and social capital, bringing people together to effect change. The internet has brought together and made us a global community, a smaller community, in fact. Um, and so some of these changes uh, really affect all of us. It's before it was we had to wait for the 6 o'clock news. Now it's we're inundated and inundated with news constantly every day, and with media everywhere. So balancing technology in the classroom, there are several things that need to be discussed. Facilitate collaboration and interaction as a tool. Does it offer immediate feedback? It builds social connections and communities. And, and lastly, it harnesses collective intelligence. This, according to Ban and Franklin. Um, as a distraction, not every student might have a mobile device. Some mobile devices are different. Androids versus iPhones, they have different operating systems, so they're unable to connect with one another. And then you have non-class related activities that students are doing, and one in particular they called these are symptoms of phone disorder, and it's pathological internet usage, where people are constantly like drawn to the internet and having to use the internet. So we need to assess technology in the classroom, its benefits and its risks to our classroom and to teaching. So one of the benefits is it's a student-centered learning. It's individualized. It's engaging. And finally, it allows for collaboration. Um, and you normally don't have to even be in the same classroom in order to collaborate. Some of the risks involved in technology in the classroom are that students tend to have a diminished creativity. This is according to one report that Malloy mentioned in his textbook. Also, they have sometimes aggressive behavior, and then there's a desensitization to violence, and quite possibly a diminished capacity for self-control. These are all I mentioned in his book. So when trying to determine a tool to measure benefits and risks of your using technology in your classroom, I I looked at a article by Gentry and a group of authors that talked about the impact on students. So first of all, I want to talk about the access and availability. For obvious reasons, this is the most important part of using technology in instruction. Is it available for me to use? That's the number one thing that we need to consider when using technology in the classroom. Um, Next is teacher's experience with the technology. Is a teacher confident and comfortable using this technology? Next up, we have school curriculum. Due to constraints of a school day, some teachers feel as though technology is taking away from the time spent learning other more important things. Personal perceptions. Are the teachers and our students fond of this technology, or is there some bias? Have they experienced this technology before and had a bad experience with it? Or or do they enjoy it and they get fully engaged in this technology? And the last one is the benefits of this technology. We students have blended learning classes. They can come to class and do hands-on activities instead of just sitting there and listening to their teacher lecture to them all day. So it really opens up opportunities. So at this time, I'd like to open up a question and answer session. If you have any questions about my discussion or my PowerPoint presentation, please don't feel free to raise your hand and ask any questions. If not, you can sign on to our class in today's meet and send me a question that I'll read aloud to the class. I'll keep it anonymous if you want me to. And so please feel free to share.